12022. 3D, this will be concurrent with
It is surely a dreadful feeling to realize that you will spend the majority of your best years, if not your whole life, in prison. Although receiving a life sentence for a major crime is common, not everyone who receives this sentence adjusts to it the same way. In this video, we examine some of the most crazy responses from teen convicts who received life sentences. These responses span the spectrum of human emotion, from sobered apologies to irate outbursts. Number 5. Matthew Borges. This is Matthew Borges, a Massachusetts teen who in 2016 murdered and beheaded his classmate, 16-year-old Lee Manuel Villora Polino. Both Borges and Polino were students of Lawrence High School. Borges was led into the courtroom in handcuffs. Polino's friends and family members attended the court wearing black t-shirts with pictures of Polino's face on them. The prosecution said during the trial that Borges was envious of Polino for spending time with his girlfriend. Polino's body, which was missing his hands and had been dismembered, was found on the Merrimack Riverbank in December 2016. In an impassioned victim impact statement, Polino's mother, Katiuska Polino, pleaded with the court to impose the harshest punishment possible.
On November 18, 2016, our world was irreversibly changed when Limano was taken from us. He was just 16 years old when he was murdered, and every day we struggle with the fact that his life was cut too short when he was in the cusp of so much. But that wasn't enough for the criminal that took his life.
Medical examiners discovered 76 wounds on Polino's body, but they were unable to say if some of them, including his beheading, occurred before or after his death. First-degree murder with premeditation and severe cruelty were the charges against Borges. He received a life sentence with eligibility for parole in 30 years. At the hearing in Salem Superior Court, Judge Helen Kanzanjian handed down the punishment.
Jury having returned a verdict of guilty on the charge of murder in the first degree on the theories of deliberate premeditation and extreme atrocity and cruelty, the court having duly considered your offense, it is ordered by the court that you be punished by confinement for a term of life.
Borges kept a stern demeanor the entire time, displaying no visible emotion as his sentence was announced. Number 4. Martise Fuller. This is Martise Fuller. He was found responsible for shooting and killing his ex-girlfriend Kaylee Juga, then 15 years old, and gravely wounding Kaylee's mother, Stephanie Juga, in their Kenosha home in May 2019. Multiple witnesses testified in favor of the prosecution's case that Fuller fatally shot his ex-girlfriend and wounded her mother during a bitter breakup. Fuller seemed to be sitting calmly at the defense table. After the jury returned its unanimous guilty verdicts, Fuller broke his emotions and cried uncontrollably. Fuller apologized to the other witnesses in the courtroom while struggling with his emotions. Just prior to being given a life sentence in prison, he wrote a statement for the jury, and the attorney read it.
Writes, I wanted to write this giving my sincerest apologies to this family I once shared time and love with. Truthfully, I am sorry about the pain you've all suffered through, but more importantly, the loss of my ex-girlfriend Kaylee that I loved too. But I have to continue to stand innocent because I am. And I hope you all can eventually see in your hearts that I am not the person the media has made me out to be.
But the judge gave the sentence with stern words. Fuller, who was 18 at the time, received a full life sentence with no chance of supervision after his conviction. Number 3. Sierra Halseth and Aaron Guerrero. In April 2021, the dismembered, charred body of 45-year-old Daniel Halseth, who had been stabbed 70 times, was discovered. Sierra Halseth, his 16-year-old daughter, and 18-year-old Aaron Guerrero, who was Sierra's boyfriend at the time, were the murderers. The teens were apprehended in Salt Lake City shortly after making a video of themselves confessing to the murder and stealing Halseth's automobile following the killing. Following the discovery of Daniel Halseth's body in a fire, Guerrero and Halseth were taken into custody in Utah on April 9th. Investigations revealed that the couple had a 2-year-long brief relationship that began in 2020 and had plans to move to Los Angeles. They were unable to see each other though, since their parents intervened. Both of them were accused of 4 counts of fraudulent use of credit or debit cards, conspiring to conduct murder, robbery, and arson. Sierra Halseth was charged as an adult, despite being a teen. In court, Sierra Halseth read a letter to the judge, outlining multiple instances of her father's sexual harassment and abuse, alleging Daniel was a pedophile and a drug addict. Halseth testified in court that her father had abused and traumatized her. Guerrero expressed regret for the murder of Daniel Halseth in a statement, expressing regret to the victim's family. When Guerrero killed Daniel Halseth, he was 18 years old. In order to avoid the death penalty, the criminal partners accepted a plea bargain. District Judge Tiara Jones gave them a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 22 years. In addition, he mandated that they make restitution of $5,000. Guerrero sobbed when he heard the punishment, but Halseth showed no sign of being affected. Number 2. Conrad Schaefer. In the summer of 2013, 15-year-old Conrad Schaefer went on a 2-week shooting rampage that left most of Osceola County in fear. On June 26, 2013, in Kissimmee, Schaefer fatally shot David Guerrero, a 17-year-old who was attempting to board a bus for work. According to court records, Conrad Schaefer was driving when he got into his car, pulled out a revolver, and shot David as he was leaving his job. A few days after the murder, David Damas, Victoria Rios, and Juan Muriel, together with Schaefer, took part in a violent home invasion where the homeowner was battered and then had his throat cut by Schaefer. 22-year-old Eric Rupnarines Poinciana was shot and had his throat cut inside his home after Schaefer and the 3 others forced their way inside. 22 gunshots occurred over a 15-day period, resulting in the deaths in Osceola County. Homes, vehicles, and other structures were shot. Schaefer apologized to the relatives of his victims numerous times during the trial.
I would just like to apologize to the families that I've hurt. I know that y'all never forgive me, and I don't expect you to. I know if I was in your position, I'd feel the same way.
Schaefer could have received a 40-year term, but the judge instead gave him 2 consecutive life sentences, 1 for each count of first-degree murder.
Convicted of 2 separate theories, extreme atrocity and cruelty, which carries with it a life sentence with a parole eligibility date of 30 years. That's not discretionary.
Number 1. Brandon Spencer. This is Brandon Spencer. He received a 40-year sentence for life in prison for firing at a crowd waiting to enter a Halloween party on the University of Southern California campus in 2012. 4 people at the party, Gino Hall, Misson Downs, Thomas Ritchie, and Devontae Smith, were wounded. When Spencer, who was 19 at the time, arrived for the party at USC's Student Center, the prosecution claimed that he encountered a member of a rival gang, whom he accused of being responsible for a shooting that had injured him the year before. In an effort to make things fair, Spencer left and then returned carrying a firearm. Having vengeance over the gang, Spencer shot the alleged gang member Gino Hall outside the USC party, according to Deputy District Attorney Antonella Nisterescu. Spencer and Hall, who was a Roland 40 Crips member, had an ongoing conflict over social media driven by their gang rivalry, according to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office. During the trial, the court witnessed Spencer bursting with emotions. While crying, he admitted to the judge that he isn't actually a gangbanger. Spencer was surrounded by the sheriff's deputies as he sobbed.
For sentencing.
I'm sorry for what happened, Your Honor, but I need to life in prison. And I'm not a bad person, but I made mistakes. But I'm not just some gangbanger that you try to betray.
He struck the courtroom desk twice with his forehead as the judge pronounced the sentence following his conviction on 4 counts of attempted murder.
25 years to life in accordance with Penal Code Section 12022. 25 this is to be concurrent.
Spencer's friends and family filled the courtroom in large numbers. They bombarded the judge with letters extolling his sterling character and attributing his poor judgment to unfavorable circumstances and his gang-infested surroundings.